Under my moderatorship, you have gathered in this hall, and I'd like to extend my thanks to each and every one of you for making it here. I'd like to extend my thanks to distinguished listeners who are in here, and I'd like to extend my thanks to the members of the press. So there were elections 6 months ago, and I'd like to extend my congratulations to you, and I wish you will succeed in offering service to your cities, and I hope you will serve your cities and you will not neglect your children in doing so. My son, who is 15 years old, now says that I did not take care of him, and I kindly ask you to take care of your children so that they will not criticize you in the future, just like in my case. I would like to extend my thanks to Tahir Büyükakın, and next to him is Cemil Arslan, and in the past Kadir Topbaş, İbrahim Karaosmanoğlu have served as a mayor, and I'd like to extend my thanks to all the previous secretaries. And back then, we had no information with regard to what it means serving as a mayor. And back then, there have been people who have contributed to us immensely. Selahattin Yıldırım, Mr. Selahattin Yıldırım is with us, and İlhan Tekeli is with us. Halil is also in here. There's this Halil Ünlü with us. And with all these people, we have served together in a very limited space in İzmit. Erol Köse. Who is Erol Köse? 50 years ago, he served as a mayor, and with your permission, I would like to introduce Erol Köse to you. Erol Köse is a politician since the multi-party era. As of 1944, he has been highly involved in politics. Before 1950s, he did not serve as a politician since he was too young, but his father was one of the pioneers of Democrat Party. He was one of the founders of Democrat Party, and that's why he got involved in politics at an early age. And in 1992, he served for Kandıra as a CHP member, and then he became a member of the provincial group, and then he became the head of the province for 4 times. And he was the head of 1979, the last General Assembly before the party was closed down. In 1992, people from different provinces have become members of different parties following the military government, and the people who have been a part of the right-wingers have come under one General Assembly, and I am one of the people who have served all these roles. And when some parties were closed down under the martial law, I became involved in SODE, and I served as the head of the Social Democratic Power accordingly. Well, I guess this part is clear now. Let me proceed. In 1967, when I became the head of the province group, I believed we would not be able to win the elections. That's why I went for a different tactic. And since there were no elected women mayors back then, there was this Müfide, and she was selected. And then I decided to select Leyla Atakan. We won the elections, and after a short period of time, Leyla passed away in an accident. That's why I started to look for a candidate as a provincial head, and then there were these young people who said that they had a candidate in their minds, and they told me that I should become the provincial chairman. That's how I got elected. Once I became a member of the provincial parliament, my first deed was to guide the office of the private secretary. And his daughter is serving for AK Party today. What I did was as follows. I told the office of the private secretary to let anyone and everyone into my room, and I also gave a direction to the head of the different departments to let anyone and everyone into my office. Well, it was so difficult to find our way as mayors. And what kind of a governance would we abide by? I have mentioned a couple of mayors and heads of the provincial groups, heads of the NGOs, chambers, syndicates, trade unions, family unions. All these unions joined us in our meetings, and I decided to govern the province hand in hand with all the shareholders. I believe we governed the city with İlhan Tekeli, Selahattin Yıldırım, Halil Ünlü, and the workers who are in charge of cleaning the streets of the province. Izmit was devastated when I became a mayor. Since there is this railroad and main road in Izmir, there was no main road. There was just one little alley that goes all the way up to the cemetery. The city was so dirty, and there were some problems surrounding the electricity. It was not so easy to distribute electricity to all the towns. And thus the needs of the people were not met. First and foremost, I decided to build some stone walls up on the hills, and then the sewage and electricity network would be over there. And unfortunately, we would have some problems surrounding the sewage system. Then I decided to start with the main roads. I brought some rocks from Bolu and Istanbul, and I built huge walls. Selahattin tells me that I shouldn't take up your time. Well, I'll be talking. I haven't talked for the last 45 years, right? Let us go, the other panelists say. There was the Swedish Sweco company with which we worked to set up the current sewage system. They got the tender and they prepared the required infrastructure. Tahir and the previous mayors are also building upon it. It goes all the way to Değirmendere, and it prevents the sewage system reaching the sea. Secondly, all the garbage would be dropped into Marmara Sea and it would stink. That is why we came up with a solution and set up a sewage system. When it comes to environment, it's not enough to set up the sewage system and tackle the public transportation problems, because environment is a broader issue, and I believe there are huge problems surrounding this topic, and the environmental problems are all the same in the Marmara region. Garbage was a huge problem to us, and since İzmit is a leading industrial province, there was this slum issue in our province. First and foremost, I did my best to tackle the urbanization problem. That's why I expropriated a huge swath of lands, and what I did was as follows. We had 3,000 liras as a municipality, and there was this person who was in charge of electricity, and he told us that we had to pay all our debt to Etibank. I called the head of the İller Bankası, and we got all the funding to initiate the collective housing project. That's how I came to generate resources for the municipality. In an attempt to do so, we had to purchase the required construction system, which would help us build the collective housing project. That's why we started to go for prefabric system. It was quite new back then. And then there was this Swiss company, Classico, an expert of the Swiss company, visited us, and he prepared all the infrastructure. Since we know that we are in an earthquake zone, we set up the collective housing project accordingly. As a result of the efforts of the Swiss company, we believed that we didn't have the required infrastructure in place. That's why I attempted to set up some plans which would meet all our requirements. I set up some plans and I became a partner to them. That's how we came to generate income out of them. And 30,000 people have invested into this project, the collective housing project. That's how we generated income. Well, that's how we brought a democratic municipality model into life. And we also became producers, starting with producing collective housing projects. And back then, we didn't have PMASH systems in place. And there were no electricity cable companies. That's how we came to become producing mayors. It was not limited to İzmit merely. Back then, Ahmet was the head of Marmara region mayors, and he invited me, and he decided to apply the same projects in the broader Marmara region. That's how we initiated the same projects in Marmara region. We didn't have enough human resources back then. We had only TRT, the public channel, in these days. And those channels, the public channels, always aired our projects. So we became a point of attraction, so to speak. And we also seeked some ways to heat those collective housing projects through through solar power. And Anadolu Agency aired this news. And the media was highly interested in solar power. The dean of İzmit University visited us, and he set up a department on making research into solar power. Selahattin Yıldırım helped us in this sense. Who is Selahattin Yıldırım? Selahattin Yıldırım is a young lawyer who earns quite a lot of money. Who else could help us? İlhan Tekeli could help us. Yiğit Gülöksüz would help us. I don't want to mention all the names, but there were hundreds of people who would help us in these projects. Without getting any wage, we would work and we would have dinner in my apartment most of the time. That's how we set up this union. And I am highly appreciative of the fact that we have reached this level. The previous general secretaries have also contributed to that. This meeting, which has become an international meeting, has made me highly proud. This meeting is of utmost importance to me. I have gained various awards. In the very first meeting of Habitat in Vancouver, I got an award for supporting the environment. I worked hand in hand with Atilla Alpege, and there was this. He became a part of OECD, and Selahattin also helped us. My nephew, the president, has also contributed to this union, and I'd like to extend my thanks to each and every one of you. Thank you for your attention.
Şimdi benim elimde bir liste var da.
I have a list, so I will be leaving the floor to our speakers according to that list. I know I took maybe a bit of your time, maybe stole a couple of minutes from each one of you. So if you complain, well, it was a joy to listen to you, and today is a very colorful meeting. You always bring in color to such meetings. Distinguished participants, Erol, my brother Erol gave me only 3 minutes, so do I have only 3 minutes? So I'll go as fast as possible. Well, there's actually much to talk about, but let me first say one thing. In the morning session, I wanted to highlight the same issue. I said we have a problem about our perspective towards the problem itself. So our organization structures actually took shape in the 19th century, but the new world is not befit for such an old organization structure. When we are producing, we are at the same time simultaneously developing another structure superior to it. The legal regulations, the public management structure, governance structure. And without thinking these all, we cannot tell where the world is headed to. Or if you don't think about where the world is headed towards, then we need to know that there's a need for a transition. The old structures are functional structures. The municipalities, the public institutions, they have all been organized in a functional way. We have the organizational structure, the mayors and the chamber heads, the secretaries, it goes all the way down. And there's a function for each and every department. But our jobs, our operations right now cannot be done under a single department division or unit. Let's say that you are building a rehabilitation center for the disabled. So the project is going to be done and it will go to the tender unit and then it will be built on the field. Then someone will ask something and then the things will change. Let me share a little story with you. We built a wholesale market and they forgot the measuring device. Because they were not working together. They didn't indeed bring in a scale while building a wholesale market. So what I'm trying to say is that we need a holistic approach. We are skipping certain things and those certain things turn out to be some major things, and that's why we need to always keep in mind that what we do today will have consequences in the future. So in this regard, the roles of the unions are really interesting. Marmara, for example, municipalities union. You want to protect the Marmara Sea. It is not enough if only Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality works. Similar examples. I'll give you some further examples. Every city, for example, has its own transportation master plan. And they also are liable to come up with their logistics plan. But logistics is not something specific to a city. Any truck coming from Istanbul to the border of Kocaeli province, for example, and their journeys in Kocaeli. So Kocaeli is their destination. And the city networks are not only of financial networks or economic relations, there's also logistics burden coming into. That's why, as unions, we have to, in the future, do consider the master plans, basin-based master plans for the cities and their logistics plans. So environmental protection was an awareness raised in 1975, but it's now there's a much more urgent need. It's about the disposal of waste and landfills. Think about incineration facilities. In cities, for example, in Kocaeli, we have about 2 million kilograms of waste, garbage, and for that you need a disposal facility with a capacity of 2 million kilograms, and the cost for that would be at least 1.5 billion. But if we manage it basin-oriented in a basin-oriented fashion, we can dispose it somewhere else. And the waste disposal, as I said before, is another issue. And the disasters, natural disasters, cannot be managed, governed by the cities only. They should be governed by unions. The other day, for example, there was a fire at a petrochemistry city, and for days we discussed about where that chemical products would fall back in form of rain again, and we discussed if it would harm people's health. So something happening next door affects you directly. For natural disasters and also for the management of those, especially for intervention into the forest fires, we have to be well organized. If Kocaeli municipality, for example, is willing to buy a fire helicopter for fire access, that's why this is about human resources. And the functionality of the unions, I believe, should be further strengthened because the legislation of the unions will suffice for now for us. And if we can use that legislation much more effectively, then we will have a better opportunity to come up with greater work. And about tourism, for example, we had a regulation. And when you do the planning, you have to know who will come, what will be the destinations, for how many days they will stay. So it's not only about Bursa, then it covers other cities in the region, and you have to come up with a route plan. And the time renders us dependent on one another, and it requires a new way of governance, and requires, if you will, a form of arts. Now we will be leaving the floor to our mayor from Bursa province of Turkey. Distinguished moderator, Mr. Mayor, all the mayors in the panel, distinguished guests, I would like to also cordially welcome you. We are at the Marmara Urban Forum. I was at another session in another room, and of course our colleagues addressed the issue from different perspectives, and if you allow me, I will simplify things a little bit. It's my fourth term as a mayor. For 15 consecutive years I've been serving as a mayor. So mayorship, is it a profession or not? I can't still name it as someone who has been serving as a mayor in office for 4 terms consecutively, but municipality work is a work of excitement and love, that's for sure. So the mayors, can a good engineer be a good mayor? Well, can a good finance person be a good mayor? No, it's not, because only about engineering or financing. It's about money, projects, and staff. In Turkish, it comes in PPP as an acronym: projects, personnel, and money, which is starting with the letter P in Turkish. So 3 P's of mayorship. We have 15 million of people living in Istanbul, for example. In Bursa we have 3 million, and all have their own problems. But zoning and urbanization, infrastructure and environment, transportation, green areas and trees, city economics, especially about that I'll have to say something, youth and women. I believe these are the 6 main topics for municipality work. There's some subtitles, of course, involved. But what do the mayors do? The human beings forget the good and bad done to them in 26 days. So you don't do anything, let's assume, for 4 years, and you do something 4 weeks prior to the election, and then it affects people. The lightening of the streets, painting on the buildings, for example, have a great impact. And you built treatment facilities with high capacities, but they don't care. Many people do not acknowledge, because you do it to make sure that the waste of Bursa is treated before sent to the seas. But many do not acknowledge. But city parks, the lightenings, or facade improvements do catch attention. The building is about to collapse, but they're trying to reinforce its facade. Why? Just to give it good looks. And also pavements and railings. These are all also very attractive in Turkey. There's some nice pavements and also asphalt. In Bursa, for example, we have more than 1,000 neighborhoods. Some of them are urban, in rural areas, and we also have villages, in some of which we only have 40 households. We sometimes have to build roads, maybe for those villages, 40, 50 kilometers outside of the city circle, but still some people do not recognize those because many recognize only the visible services. And the previous speaker, Mayor Tahir, talked about it, not specific to some cities, but in all cities we see the same thing. I am a chairperson of the Healthy Cities Union. It was established in Bursa. There are, different unions. And Yalova mayor is here with us. He is also a member to our union. And when we say health, we only think about our physical bodily health, but it's a reality that we need to render each and every part of the city healthy, and it's an inevitable truth. There are common grounds for many cities: Kocaeli, Bursa, Balıkesir, Istanbul, Tekirdağ. So the cities coasting Marmara Sea. These are all related at the end of the day with Marmara Sea, its pollution or how clean it is, or the way it is used. And that's why each and every party has different responsibilities and tasks, but it's good to meet on common grounds. And Marmara Municipalities Union has manifested itself outside of those needs. So I talked about 6 subjects, basically. The mayors, we have seasoned brothers here. So from Bağcılar, from Büyükçekmece, we have our experienced brothers here. So the city economy is, I believe, one of the subjects that the cities do ignore to a great extent. And important activities can be done by the municipalities in this regard. And I said in the previous session, just because someone gives a couple of bricks for the construction of a mosque or a building of a school, some are recognized. And some newborns, for example, are sent with some gift packages, but when someone passes away and when you call, the relatives, you have to make sure that all their needs are met. And also the hospice systems, this is done by the Ministry of Health. We have a population of 3.5 million, and we have about 24 million worth of allowance. So all the people in the city, all the young, the disabled, and we are trying to reach out to everyone. And the city economics should be kept lively, and we need to produce sources. And for city economics, let me finish. I stole some of your time too, In 2004, I was elected the mayor for Inegöl district. Has a population of 270,000 people. It's famous for its furniture and meatballs. And I took office. Before that, I did not had any business to do with municipalities. I was a marketing manager at an important company, and then I established my own company in 2002. I still have my own companies. And there was a ceremony in front of the municipality premises. So I asked for a cup of tea, and everyone was gone. And I said, what I'm going to do? Well, the secretary of the office called back and said, good luck. We have a sewage problem which we couldn't solve for 13 years. And I said, well, I've just started. There were some other mayors before me, predecessors. Why didn't you call them? But anyways, 5 days later, they gave me a piece of paper at a fair of furniture. I made a speech, and then a week later, they brought me a bag of 40,000 liras. I said, what that is? Well, they said it's about an informally organized fair organization. So I said, did you do it informally? They said, yes. We have, they said, an indoor area of 6,000 square meters, and we do have our fairs there. I come myself from commerce, trade. I'm a financial advisor, and I said, well, we will privatize that. And then we immediately got into work and opened some stands, some booths, published booklets, and in a couple of months we started to receive calls internationally. Some said that we will need some production areas, and then in 2006 our fair was much better, and we I said I will enlarge the area of that fair zone up to 26,000 square meters, not through individuals but with institutions. I said we will organize fairs twice in a year, one national and the other one international. So once you participate to one, you won't be able to participate to the other one. Mr. Mayor, you want to use your time, use some time as much as I did. So the fair in 2007 was very good, and then the city started to export more and more. And as of last year, we have made an export much higher compared to the time I took office. So that's why it's an inevitable reality that we should organize and unionize. Thank you all very much. If I give a call to my wife, she should pack up, because Balıkesir Municipality Mayor invited me over, so we will be moving there.
Birlikte hareket etmek.
Thinking together and moving together look quite simple, but if you are involved in politics and if you are a selected politician and if there are political parties that are different from yours in your group, then you need to reach a consensus. As the mayors, we are alone. We do not have our own members. There is this list of parliament members, and then there is this assembly members assigned. You do not have a vice mayor, so that's why you are alone, and you need to make use of the common sense. Everyone calls you a mayor, however, you work alone. Though there is this big group, if you are lucky, a couple of commission members will be supporting you politically speaking. Well, it's not that easy to govern a province. You will be serving for a period of 60 months. The province was there before you got elected, and the people had some dreams. You will be serving for a period of 60 months. Let's say that you will be serving for 60 months, and then the rest might be history. You might be elected, or maybe you will not be able to survive for the following term. Things are not clear, so you will be serving for a period of 60 months. And as the mayors, we always tell people that they have to generate income. However, you have a certain budget which you will repeat in the upcoming months. So what I will do is that there is this certain amount that will be allocated to routine actions, and there are also town municipalities, and they have almost 7,000 people. So that's why in total it adds up to 14,000 personnel, 60 months of term, and you have 15,000 liras to spend. It's not that easy to manage it. First and foremost, you need to have common sense. When it comes to infrastructure, you can't make politics. You have to abide by the common sense. City has nothing to do with the politics. Let's say that if a certain bus stop is placed at a wrong location, then the responsibility should belong to the mayor himself. If there is a certain element that is not of quality, then you can tell that the quality is not that good. Probably you will not notice what is wrong. As for municipalities, what we do is that people do not notice that we are functioning, but while we are invisible, we should be functioning very well. Rather than bragging about our deeds, we should come to our common senses. That's why we go for strategic planning. What is strategic planning? All the mayors do have dreams before the elections, and they communicate all their projects to the people, because in the end, they would like to be selected. More than 3,000 people. I have shaken the hands of more than 300,000 people. I know about it because I followed up an election strategy which lasted for 100 days. There is this praying machine. Each time I shook people's hands, the people in my team would count the number. And all the people whose hands I have shaken made comments. They had some issues, and they told me, if you get elected, then you should be able to tackle this issue, they said. I visited more than 600 towns. I know what my homework is, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I still don't have a solution to the problems. Once I took over the job, then I began to tackle the issues. In the assembly, we decided to govern the city all together. 20 heads of towns were invited by us, and we talked to them. Well, I'm a member I am a member of the same party with only 10 of these mayors, and 10 of them are members of the opposition party. I am serving as a mayor because I would like to offer a service to my people, irrespective of politics. We would like to serve to our people through negotiating with people, and we do take the differences into account. Well, the villages are homogeneous places, yet when it comes to cities, there are huge differences between people. That is why the municipality needs to offer some services which would make people feel like they are sharing the same ground. The people who would like to feed their animals in their backyard should be educated through municipalities. First and foremost, we should determine the needs, and then we need to address the needs of people through the actions that we take. And secondly, we should also be able to determine where the freedom starts. We call it a cultural municipality. You allocated 3 minutes to me, so I kindly ask you to wrap it up. You've been talking for an hour. Please wrap it up. So is this the time left? You don't see it, right? There's this screen in here. Well, okay, we will give you some more time since you are handsome. Okay, we gathered with 20 people.
Bir Eskişehir gibi, bir Kocaeli gibi değiliz. Bizim
We're not like Eskişehir or Kocaeli. We have 300,000 people living in the center, and there are also 50 to 70,000 people who do live in the neighboring towns. These are the towns that cannot become provinces yet. We do have people who would like to get the best infrastructure, who would like to get the best training in their schools, and they would like to have a proper building in which they could meet. And there is this economy of the city that we need to govern. We should also know the reason why people do split up, and we have to come up with solutions accordingly. That's why we need to have a huge knowledge when it comes to urban life. And you should be able to follow up a good strategic plan and authorize the others. So you should be able to manage the time, the human resources, and the finances. Accordingly, we have moved beyond what is written, and we have come up with a great strategic planning. And within this strategic planning, we have followed up a supra-political understanding. That's how we have served the city. Well, I have also served in the assembly of the town. The biggest problem that we had was regarding the people who looked up to us. If you do not have a certain vision, then it will be highly difficult to work with the politicians. In order to eliminate problems, we should come up with joint action plans. If a natural disaster occurs, then we should work hand in hand with all the governmental institutions to offer the best support to human beings, and we should also work in a very organized manner. And the infrastructure goes through a quick and rapid communication web, and we have to update this communication web all the time. Thank you. Now I'd like to give the floor to Sakarya Mayor. The floor is yours, sir.
Değerli belediye başkanlarımız, çok değerli katılımcılar, her birinizi en kalbi duygularımla selamlıyorum.
Distinguished guests, I do welcome you cordially, and I will make the best use of my time. The mayors are working, and we are thinking together, and we should focus on the culture of acting and moving together. Distinguished participants, in order to move and think together, first and foremost, we should we should address what the common problems are. What kind of issues do we have, and what are the solutions to these issues? We need to work on these points. We have huge cities, and we should be able to prevent the movement from the rural areas to the urban areas. In this regard, all the provinces should come up with a common solution. Secondly, traffic is a huge problem to us. Especially in populated cities, we have huge problems with regard to traffic, and I think traffic is the issue that we need to take into consideration. In today's world, railroad is the best solution to eliminate the problems related to traffic. In Sakarya, we have initiated a plan to add railroads. That's why we have examined the major railroads of the world. In Korea, we have examined a railroad system, and I was in Korea yesterday. I visited the railroad systems of Korea, and I have seen the differences between light railroad systems and elasticated railroad systems. What I have seen is that elasticated railroad makes better maneuvers, and through an electricity remote control, it's easier to function. I hope we will go into further details in examining the elasticated railroad system. Kayseri will also be a part of this railroad system. A new transportation mechanism will be in place accordingly. It will not create any noise, and it will be a very comfortable system, I believe. Municipality has to do with the sacrifices that you make. You have to sacrifice yourself for a greater thing. Otherwise, you cannot serve your people. In 1999, I was elected as a mayor, and back then, people thought that the most ideal job would be becoming a mayor. However, it's not the case anymore. I think you have to be very careful in serving as a mayor. Since we are located in an earthquake zone, we have huge infrastructure problems. We just got through a major earthquake. Thank God we did not thank God it was not a major destruction. However, we have to brace for the earthquake. And as Sakarya, we should focus on infrastructure. In urban transformation, we need to take Sakarya's infrastructure into place. I believe we need to do our best to inculcate people with a common understanding of the city. We have to abide by our common values, and we have to establish an atmosphere of peace so that we can have a more productive atmosphere. The citizens would like to feel safe. They should confide in us. If the citizens do confide in us, then it means that you are successful. If the people do not trust you, then it means that you won't be successful no matter what you do. I think it has to do with the teamwork. You need to work hand in hand with the other cities. Well, I would like to share a story from the Black Sea region with you. In a garden, the Black Sea people have come together. One is digging the ground, and what are you doing? The mayor asks them. One is digging, and the other one is doing the opposite. Well, we are a team. One will dig, the other will do the opposite, and what about the others? The mayor asks. Well, there are some other people who are on leave today. We only dig and do the opposite, they say. So I believe this is a different perspective with regard to the teams. I believe education is of utmost importance, as noted by the previous mayors. That's why we have been working on a children's academia. Through this academia, we will be raising the next generation, and we will do our best to do so. I believe increasing the life standards in our province should be of utmost importance to us. First and foremost, we should have a very good public transportation in place. It is a must to us. If you would like to care about the welfare of the citizens. Secondly, we should brace for the natural disasters. Thirdly, we should empower ourselves through cultural activities. In Kocaeli, Balıkesir, Bursa, there are great cultural activities, but it's not the case in Sakarya. We call Sakarya as the best city. Why? Because there are people from different backgrounds living in Sakarya. Moreover, Sakarya lies at the heart of the Caucasus. There are people from Turkmenistan who do live in Sakarya. Sakarya is at the heart of the Balkans and the Middle East. I lived in Edirne for a period of 2 years. I know Edirne, but in Edirne, there aren't so many Balkan people living. Let me start. Albania, Kosovo, and all the cities that are close by are the cities where people from this region do live. So a person from Kosovo is serving as the mayor of Edirne. So they live in Edirne, and later on they're going to live in Sakarya. So I believe we lie at the heart of these civilizations. And we should make a commitment to embrace different civilizations. Moreover, the disabled people should be integrated into the society. If we do not take the needs of the disabled people into consideration, then we will not have a contemporary governance system in place. In order to set up the rules of the contemporary governing system, we should integrate the disabled people into society. Furthermore, we should become a brand city. And we should protect the nature and make use of it in the best manner possible. I'd like to make a quotation. One philosopher says that if you feel the life, then it means that you have lived in its real sense. I believe the gravest duty that we have to take into consideration is survival. It is surviving. As mayors, we should serve to our people, and I believe we can set up the best cities if we take our people into consideration. I do extend my thanks to each and every one of you. I do invite you to the best city of Turkey, Sakarya. Thank you, thank you.
Edirne Belediye Başkanımız.
Kosovalı.
Mayor of Edirne province. So Mr. Mayor got a little carried away, but he still could make a stop when he arrived in the Middle East, I guess. I agree with what Mr. Mayor said. Sakarya is an extraordinarily beautiful city. So it combines, it has the profiles of the Middle East, the Balkan region, the Caucasia, and many other parts of the world. I'm Edirne Mayor. It's my second term, and before that I was a parliament member to the city of Edirne, and I took also some posts at many other public institutions. I also come from an education background. I was a teacher, so you never know where the life will get you, and governance and management governing is a challenging job, but when we're talking about municipality governance, the coefficient of difficulty is multiplied by thousands of extra figures. So whatever we do in municipality is not talked about, but whatever you don't is very much talked about. If you have a great activity, everyone says that, well, it's your duty, of course you have to do it. But if you, for example, do not care for the trees of a city or maintain a road, then they'll blame you for days and days. That's why in Turkey and probably in many cities of the world, serving as a mayor, I believe, is the most challenging branch of politics. I'll give you an example. Well, no doubt, all the mayors are actively using social media, either themselves personally or through their teams. I also use myself at Twitter. Our city, Edirne, has a population of 200,000 in its center, and 20% of that population is of students. So our city is a city of students. So think about our young people who are studying and who have maybe graduated from university. Whenever there is an electricity cut, I receive about 100 tweets. And Mr. Mayor, why the electricity is gone, why there has been a cut, and so on, when it will come back. But for years, actually, the municipalities are not responsible for electricity. There are private companies for that. And we also answer their questions and say that municipalities are not involved in supplying electricity. You can submit your demand to that company and so on. About a month ago, a university student took a photo, a dark photo, and said, "Mayor, the electricity has been gone for 2 hours. Why is that, and when it will be back on?" So our colleagues did answer that question, and the reply was, "We did not vote for that company, we did vote for you, the municipality." The person said, "Why don't you call them?" So there's a problem of correlation in between the citizens and the municipalities. The citizens expect the services complete and neat. Of course, they're entitled, but the citizens also have their responsibilities for those cities and their tasks and duties. And when we go back to that, we see a great gap in between the two. I was in London the other week. A Turkish colleague took me to the meeting place, and I asked him if the relations with the municipality was good. He went to his phone and put on an application, and he said that the municipality service fees has increased up to £143 this month. I said, how? He said every household pays for a service, pays a service fee. I said, is it to do with the utilities? He said, no, this is only about the service fee. And if you don't pay, you will be served, and in 15 days you have to be attending to the court hearing. So I made my own calculation and said, well, if you add it all up, it would be that much in a year. So we are to the very best of Turkey, and many say the Europeans are well educated, the Europeans are civilized. Sometimes we do reduce ourselves but that's not the case. And between the Europeans and us, there's only one difference. There are fines in Europe, and we also have fines. There are rules in Europe, and we have rules in Turkey. But the difference is that in Europe, the rules are practiced for everyone. It's not like this one is a mayor, this one is a relative of the mayor, and this one is a PM, and so on. No matter who that is, if someone makes a mistake, then they are liable for it. For example, the trash picking, there are certain hours. If you put your trash out later than the scheduled time, you will be fined. Can you think of it being practiced in Turkey, in any city of Turkey? And in Germany, for example, no one takes their trash out before or after the scheduled time period. No one. And the fines are everyone is subject to those fines, each and everyone. That's why when we go to Europe, we don't see garbage outside. We see that everyone stops at red lights, and everyone delivers their tasks on time, and completely. So I believe this understanding should take start in Turkey too. About the garbage, we have started practicing, we have started issuing some fines. Yes, people have started to maybe feel a little disturbed, but I follow the tactic of warming up the water slowly. Edirne possesses the highest number of historical artifacts after Istanbul in the historical peninsula. So there's too much of historical and cultural heritage. Mayor, your time is up. So some say if you have some heritage, you start spending on it. But we don't consider ourselves as those who will spend what's left of that heritage, but we see ourselves as those to whom that heritage, that legacy has been entitled and entrusted. So a mayor shouldn't say, what is that to me? What is the relevance of it for me? You should never say that. And you should also never say, what's that to you? If someone is angry at you or is upset or asking questions, we should know that no one is as smart as everyone united. Now we will be leaving the floor to the mayor of a city where I spent more than 15 years. Distinguished colleagues, distinguished participants, on behalf of Yalova province, I would like to welcome you. I don't know how a politician can make a short speech, but I'll try to summarize. My colleague gave an example. I couldn't structure up the sentence. I'll also share a short story with you. A week ago, I received a call. A lady from a neighborhood was calling, and she said that I have a mouse in my house, and I asked her if she I said to her, you should ask your cat if there's a mouse in your house. Yalova is a number one city in many aspects in Turkey's scale, and it's an eco-friendly city. It's a city of flowers. It's a city for you to visit and stay. It's the gate that opens to Istanbul. It's the city where the sun sets the best. And if there's a heaven in the world, it's Yalova. It's the capital of love. It's the city of brotherhood. And it's the city where we have the lowest rates of criminal acts, and it's a city that our great leader, veteran Mustafa Kemal Atatürk loved, and it took its eco-sensitivity from him. We have the spring waters, the water quality is high. Atatürk planted the tallest plane tree in Yalova, and he invited the gardener, the Greek gardener, to Yalova and created the first living trees museum in Yalova. So the walking mansion is actually the epitome of museums. In 1929, he said, built a house, a mansion for me. He had two houses, two mansions in each city, but he had, the great leader Atatürk had three mansions. The plane tree he planted is now 400 years old. And he, when planting the trees, suggested all the people not cut a branch of it. And when the tree grew too much, it started covering up all the windows of the mansion. And rather than removing the tree itself, Atatürk had the mansion moved. That's why it is called the walking mansion. It's important to know our past because we have to shape our future depending on our present, and that's also related with what we consume. And what we consume the most is time, and we also consume the nature, the environment, the most rapidly. For environment, we of course need awareness, And this is a meeting of Marmara municipalities. That's why what concerns us all is the Marmara Sea. We're losing it. Maybe some grandchildren of ours won't be able to swim in Marmara Sea anymore. Recep Gürkan was elected twice. I was elected 3 times. I served as a mayor for 21 days, but they canceled the elections. And I have 3 certificates actually of mayorship. We had a lot of seagrass, moss problems in Marmara coast, and we had activities for 3 years to clean the coastline. The seaweed started removing up to the surface of water, and they washed off due to waves, and the coastlines were covered with seagrass. And I invited some colleagues, and he said that the deep fauna living beings ratio has been reduced, has decreased tremendously in Marmara Sea, and any animal fished in the sea cannot be eaten anymore. But the other thing is about the earthquake. In 1999, we had that pain. In Yalova, we had a lot of loss, but did we draw lessons? Not sufficiently. The number of, for example, the horizontal and the vertical barriers were increased. Certain construction inspection companies were established. But what we figured out was what kills is not the earthquake, but the buildings. So I tried my best on the Marmara fault line. We are sitting on a grenade, if you will. And the other day, last year, we had an early warning system built. And maybe the scientific background of it hasn't been fully reinforced, but it still gives us a lot of signals of abnormalities. And the number of the stations hopefully will increase, and what we have to do is to have strong buildings built, and we have a lot of responsibilities as mayors, and I will never allow people to build more than 4-story buildings. I have to protect what's around our city. Bursa, Istanbul, Kocaeli cities are like the cities of concrete now, while Yalova is still like an oasis. So people will come here, come to our city for its beauty, for its natural beauty. You can see all the patterns of nature. It's a green city. I also studied in Bursa. For example, the green of Bursa has now been nostalgic. What's green is Yalova. We have sea, we have the falls, we have the rivers, we have our rivers, we have our lakes. So you can find anything in terms of natural beauty, and it's close to many cities. And Kadıköy mayor was here. I talked to him in the break. And I said to him, you cannot go to Sabiha Gökçen Airport in a shorter time than I do. We have our Osman Gazi Bridge, so I can ride to Sabiha Gökçen Airport from Yalova in 45 minutes or an hour. So it's a beautiful city. I would like to thank you all very much for listening.
Evet.
Bağcılar, pardon, biz Avcı'dan anladık biz de, değil mi? Pardon. Avcı'dan anladık biz de dedim, yanlış olmasın, pardon, abi özür dileriz.
Efendim?
Bağcılar.
Bağcılar.
Doğru,
Yanlış
doğru.
mı söyledim?
Yo,
Avcılar gibi anladık değil mi?
Bağcılar dedi başkanımız. Ben Bağcılar dedi. Evet, çok kıymetli başkanlarım, değerli katılımcılar. Öncelikle ben de saygıyla selamlıyorum. Gerçekten İstanbul'umuz için, ülkemiz için farklı bir form ve güzellikte başlayan Maruf'un, Marmara Forum'un hayırlı olmasını temenni ediyorum. Öyle inanıyorum ki yıllar sonra bu forumun anlamı daha da önem kazanacak ve ülkemiz için özellikle belediyecilik alanında da ilklerin ortaya çıkacağı bir forum olmasını da temenni ediyorum. Tabii belediye başkanlarımız konuştular. Sonlara doğru konuşmacılar kalınca söylenecek pek bir şey de kalmıyor. Neticede hizmet ettiğimiz insan ve arzuları, istekleri ve talepleri de neyse çözüm yolları da hemen hemen 3 aşağı 5 yukarıda aynı durumda. Tabii şehri birlikte yönetmek ve beraber yaşadığınız şehre sahiplenmek, yani bir aidiyet duygusunun ortaya çıkarabilme. Yani belediyecilikteki başkan yardımcılığımla beraber 20. yılını doldurmuş birisi olarak Bağcılar'da özellikle kurulduğu günden bugüne kadar ki şehri birlikte yönetme noktasında çok iyi bir yere geldiğimize ben inanıyorum. İstişare toplantılarıyla başlamıştık. Arazide, bölgede problemleri kaynağında ve problemi yaşayan kişilerden eğer dinlerseniz onların çözümü çok daha rahat ve kolay ulaşma şansınız ortaya çıkıyor. Bizim bu uyguladığımız istişare toplantıları ki 20-23 yıl önce başladığımız kent konseyi ile beraber birebir aynen kanunlaştı. Yani kent konseyinin çıkış noktası Bağcılar Belediyesi'dir. Bunu da buradan ben özellikle hatırlatmak istiyorum. Tabii insana hizmet ederken müşteri memnuniyetiyle hareket ederseniz daha iyi bir sonuç elde etmiş olursunuz. Tabii belediyecilikte zorluğu kadar da kutsallığı bir de o derecede önemli olduğuna ben inanıyorum. Yani bir başka kurum, kuruluş veya bir meslekte herkese ve her kesime hizmet edebileceğiniz bir alanın bulacağınızı ben zannetmiyorum. Ve yine insanların her türlü ihtiyaçlarını talep ettiği bir kurum olarak da belediyeleri çok rahat görebiliriz. Edirne Belediye Başkanımız da demin verdiği örnek gibi buna benzer birçok örnekleri de yaşıyoruz ki özellikle Büyükşehir Belediye sınırındaki ilçeler, şimdi Büyükşehir Belediye Başkanımız orada Balıkesir Başkanımız bir şeyler söyledi ama bir de Büyükşehir sınırlarında yaşayan ilçe belediyelerin zorluklarını da görmek lazım. Yani Büyükşehir'e değil tüm zorluklar, problemler, sıkıntılar İSKİ'de olsa, İktaş'ta olsa vatandaş diyor ki oyu ben size verdim ve ilçe belediyesinden isteyebiliyor. O açıdan diyalog ve koordine usulü çalışmak da çok iyi bir netice getireceğine ben inanıyorum. Ve özellikle çalışmalar içerisindeki belediyeler arasındaki diyalogların kurulması noktasında da Marmara Belediyeler Birliği gibi birliklerinde çok önemli olduğuna inanıyorum. Neticede yapılan çalışmalardaki deneyim paylaşımları bir başka işle uğraşıp zaman harcamaktan çok daha öncelikli olarak da sonuç elde edebileceğiniz çalışmalar olduğuna ben inanıyorum. Tabii belediyecilikte önemli olan insana hizmet ederken altyapı çalışmalar işte kaldırım, yol, elektrik, su bunlar tabii ki belediyenin asli görevidir. Bunun yanında çevre faaliyetleri ve çevre çalışmalarıyla beraber bunu mutlaka ve mutlaka desteklemeniz lazım ki yapmış olduğunuz çevre eserler onları dolduracak ve onlardan istifade edecek nesli de mutlaka yetiştirmek gerektiğine ben inanıyorum. Ve bilge mimar Turgut Cansever'in çok güzel bir sözü var. Şehri imar ederken nesli ihya etmeyi ihmal ederseniz, ihmal ettiğiniz nesil, imar ettiğiniz şehri tahrip eder. Onun için belediyecilikte bunların yanında yeni nesiller yetiştirilme noktasında vatanına, milletine, ezanına, bayrağına faydalı nesiller yetiştirdiğinizde siyasi görüşü, düşüncesi, fikri, inancı ne olursa olsun gerçekten bu ülkenin geleceğine en büyük yatırım ve hizmeti yaptığınızı göreceksiniz. Ben toparlama adına da, sabrınızı fazla zorlamama adına da burada yaptığımız çalışmaları tek tek anlatacak değilim. Hemen hemen aynı çalışmaları ortaya koyuyoruz. İnsan olarak karşındakini görebilmek. Yani Allah'ın yarattığı bir kul olarak gördüğünüz zaman hizmette de farklılıkları veyahut da farklı düşünce ve görüşleri de görmeyeceğinizi göreceksiniz. Çok güzel bir söz var. Bu bizim için de çok çok önemli olduğuna ben inanıyorum. İnsan her şeyi affeder, adam yerine koyulmamayı affetmez. Saygılar sunuyorum.
Teşekkürler. Şimdi aynı köyde doğduk. Benim köylüm adeta belediyecilikte tezkere bırakıyor. 6. dönemine girdi. Allah 7-8'e ulaştırsın inşallah. Hasan Akgün kardeşim.
Erol abicim çok teşekkür ediyorum değerli başkanım. Çok değerli katılımcılar, Marmara Belediye
Distinguished participants in this first forum of Marmara Municipality, I would like to address you. The General Secretary will be leaving quite soon. I'm not so sure as to whether you will be served the dinner. Thank you for making it here. I guess you have deserved the dinner. And we will say bon appétit to you. All the mayors have talked about serious topics. No matter what we talk about, well, the heads are talking. We're talking about thinking together and living together. That's the life itself, right? In urban life, you have to think and live together. I will go into some concrete cases because I will go into the earthquake issue. But before doing that, if you ask me why I got elected all the time, it might have to do with the relationship that I have with the citizens. In Istanbul, for the last 36 years, we have been focusing on infrastructure and we have set up a new city, Büyükçekmece, in Istanbul. And we have turned it into a city in which people could live. We have never ever given up on our plans. And we have built a green space of 140 square meters per person. I think it has become an exemplary plan. There are huge companies, MR, Alarko, who would like to invest in Büyükçekmece, and they have built 20,000 houses. Then came the universities, hospitals to Büyükçekmece. The first television tower of Turkey was built over there. The first movie plateau of Turkey is still built over there. In doing so, we have worked hand in hand with the citizens. The way that I work is as follows. In preparing the budget for 2020, I asked the people's opinion. The first question that I asked to the citizens is as follows. Please tell us what you would like to see in your neighborhood. And then please tell us what you would like to see in your town. We asked them. And then what we see is that rather than infrastructure, they would like to have a playground for their children, or let's say they would like to have a gym. And then we make plans accordingly. And when we had the 99 earthquake, I was a mayor and I worked hand in hand with Ankara. We analyzed the soil in our town and we examined the infrastructure. Emlak Konut has built great dwellings in Mimaroba and Sinanoba. Those are some exemplary urban spaces of Istanbul. I can't describe what being a mayor is like. Since we can't describe, from time to time I try to focus on the book that I'm writing. Municipality is about making people happy, I tell myself, because the last rule, 5363, stipulates that apart from the other duties given to the other institutions, everything should be handled by the municipalities, they say. Selahattin Yıldırım, could you please tell me what it means to be a mayor? No, you can't do it. That is why the expectation from the mayors is quite high. However, we do not have enough income. We are on the verge of going into bankruptcy. I believe we have to have a finance rule in place. Otherwise, at least thousands of more than 1,900 municipalities will have huge financial difficulties. Unfortunately, this might be the case in the near future. I have 5 minutes, okay. But I guess Erol will give me more time since we are from the same village. Well, the earthquake reality in Istanbul. Earthquake is a grave concern to us. I've been serving in Istanbul for 42 years as a mayor. I have served before the coup d'etat in 1980s as well, and I have seen what kind of a bad infrastructure Istanbul had. I won't go into that because I have limited time. I just have one question to raise. In Istanbul, there are some planning bureaus set up. There were 500 people working for those offices. We made a great plan, then we tore all the plans down, and did we put something instead? No, we did not. What is the biggest problem in Istanbul? There are no graves in Istanbul. So what kind of a metropolitan city is it? Now, I have a question for Ankara. You have passed a rule with regard to construction. And all the technical people of municipalities will be left outside. You should give us the money, then you will get the document, you say, and everyone bringing a document to us will be offered the water and the rest, it says. Okay, we will do that. Let's say that in the earthquake, people will lose their lives and the buildings will collapse. Well, whose responsibility is it? Who will be the murderer in this case? I have a right to ask this question because if you add 4 more stores on top of a 4-store building, then what will happen? Ankara says that 4 stores might be added on top of a 4-store building. Is this the right decision? Is this the right housing decision? If you do give documents to people based on the housing verdict, and if the required conditions are not met, then if an earthquake happens, then the number of the that people in Istanbul will further accelerate. This is a topic that I have been discussing for a very long time. And I have raised this issue on various platforms. How are we going to tackle this issue, and how are we going to ensure that people are safe? Istanbul is the main engine of Turkey. Marmara region, 40% of the income generated in Turkey comes from Marmara region. In governing Istanbul, the duty of the different towns should be written down. Otherwise, we will continue arguing because we're not educated enough. Some people will have a remark and the others will have another remark, and they won't reach a consensus. For instance, in Büyükçekmece, you built a main arterial road in an erroneous place just because the politicians would like it to be built over there, and you do not build the main arterial road in the right place. As long as we have such arguments in place, then as long as we don't have legal documents in place, first and foremost, we will not be successful. We will go through huge problems in offering services to our people. I would like Ankara to take all these points into consideration because we are on live. The meeting is streamed. Ahmet Sarıkurt. Now I'd like to give the floor to Ahmet Sarıkurt. The floor is yours. Well, distinguished participants, I'd like to extend my thanks to each and every one of you on behalf of my citizens from Çorlu. I will make a very good use of time. All the mayors do have points to make. You say that you haven't talked for 46 years. Well, I've been talking for the last 40 years, and I believe I will communicate my point in 5 minutes. I'd like to extend my thanks to the moderator and the head of the union for for inviting us in here and making us think over the problems together. Well, thinking together and acting together is the title of today's meeting, and I believe that's what we are doing. Well, the world is changing, the technology is changing, and the expectations of the citizens is ever changing. In face of this ever-changing world, the understanding of governing together, and in line with this understanding, setting up new strategies is a must. Moreover, in our legislations, preparing the strategic plans and setting up the budgets is regulated with a law. Each and every municipality could work in this framework and make plans accordingly. Governing together and thinking together are must to us. We should think with the city, we should think in the city and in the country. We should think together in the country. As a young person, I would like to address a couple of points. In preparing the strategical plans, apart from we believe that we should be visible in preparing the strategical plans. To this end, in making them up, we should work hand in hand with the public institutions, NGOs, and the chambers, and the citizens at large. And though we have limited resources, we have to hit our targets in the best manner possible. A couple of minutes ago, Mr. Chairperson made a remark in the sense that we have to believe in our deeds and we have to abide by our commitments. Those strategical plannings will help us in thinking together and will yield good results in both our provinces and in the country. Because today, for both municipalities and the governing bodies, it's not okay to think of the infrastructural development only. We should think of the financial development of the cities as well. And I believe we can do it all together. Well, I feel like I need to read more on personal development after becoming the mayor. There's this text. The scientists have explored the way that the gray legs fly together. When the gray legs fly together, they can reach a higher place. And the conclusion that we can reach is that if you work together, then you can reach your goals in a swift manner. Secondly, if a gray leg leaves the group, then this gray leg will have difficulty in flying alone, and after a certain point of time, this gray leg will have to join the group again. I believe we should attach huge importance on the exchange of information. I think this is the conclusion that we can draw from this example. I believe thinking together will yield very good results if we act together. Thank you again.
Vaktimizi
We won't be able to get any questions because we have exceeded our time. I would like to thank to chairperson who had the leadership for this forum, to our members at the union, all the colleagues, and also the panelists who shared this table with me. And I also would like to thank you all very much who have patiently listened to us.